Bearcat Bounce Podcast, back at it again. As always, it is I, Brent Young. It's another Monday, beautiful Monday. That means I'm going to welcome in my two guys that took in quite a lot of Bearcat sports this past weekend. Not really games that were played, but maybe things that could potentially help the future games that are being played. I'm doggone sure it was one of the more special weekends that didn't involve a win or a loss. Man, wow. It's time to bring you guys in. Mr. Chad Brendel, Mr. Aaron Smith. Gentlemen, you guys have been on the airways quite a lot this weekend, but I've got to ask you on this beautiful Monday morning, afternoon, weekend, night. How are we?
What's wrong with you? I'm doing well, man. Doing well. Got outside in the window in between storms today and mowed the lawn. So, yeah, doing good.
I finally found somebody to do my lawn. The search for lawn care is over because as I was driving out of town on Friday, I saw a lawn company cutting someone's yard in my subdivision, and I just stopped and I was like, "Hey, will you cut mine too?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." And we exchanged numbers, and now he's going to cut my grass.
Wow, is this like is this like a little like a high schooler trying to make a little cash on the side, or you got a real
No. This was like a lawn care company.
Okay. Well, there we go. Aaron, you're
I'm pretty happy about that.
Still doing the riding lawnmower, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it took like 4 hours to cut like 4 acres. So
yeah, didn't you mow the lawn last week too? I think we opened up.
You mow the lawn every week, Brent. That's how
lawns work, especially in the spring.
Fair enough. I mean, I don't really have a lawn, so no.
We're just educating you. It's not optional. Like you don't. I think I'll put it off till next week. That's not how lawns work.
Yeah. Get the scissors out. We'll trim a little bit. But guys, you know what? If you got to do a little bit of lawn mowing, and say your lawnmower needs some repair, and you drive your car and your car starts stopping and won't go, you need a repair on your car, you call Danco Transmission. Take it on into Danco. Hit them up. Tell them BCJ, tell them BBP, tell them Chatty B, Aaron Smith. Lay it on them. $10 off your next oil change at Danco Transmission. Big shout out to Danco Transmission. And I tell you what, man, one thing that wasn't broken was what happened in Las Vegas this past weekend. Not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, not seven, not eight, but nine. 9 Bearcats drafted. Let me repeat that. 9 Bearcats drafted. Only 2 more teams in the entire country had more players drafted in this past draft. I mean, it's an unbelievable feat, one that we've been talking about leading up to this past weekend, one that lived up to the expectations, one that even had someone that, with a bit of a surprise at the end that, if you watch Curtis Brooks one-on-one with the Colts after he got picked, man, that is something that's going to tell you he's going to stick in the NFL for a while. Guys, wrapping it all up, just a very broad initial. What are your thoughts? What's your biggest takeaway from what happened from Thursday all the way through Saturday? Just an awesome weekend.
Well, my biggest takeaway is we have to thank UCF for paving the way for Cincinnati to be able to have 9 picks drafted.
If they didn't have 4 guys drafted in 2017, there's no way UC would have had 9.
We couldn't have done this without them, and just hats off to UCF for paving the way, because Jesus Christ, get over yourselves.
Okay. That's your biggest takeaway?
No, but that was the joke that I wanted to drop.
I enjoy your joke.
No, my biggest takeaway was just it was the fact that it wasn't even like, we had a guy in the first and then a couple in the fourth and then a couple in the 7th.
Right.
Like it was all throughout every single day.
Right.
You had a guy go in the top 4. You had a couple in the second. I mean,
couple in the third, couple in the 4th, couple in the 5th, couple in the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
None in the 7th.
I said 6th.
I know. I'm just saying, and none in the 7th. So it wasn't
Luke's gonna have to work. Luke's really gonna have to work on the back end of the roster. No 7th round draft picks. What are we doing?
It was a hell of a day though for these guys, and a lot of guys ending up in some pretty good situations. So including even the undrafted free agents that were picked up after the fact. So just what an amazing weekend for the Cincinnati Bearcats.
Chad, you've talked about it a lot, but just your initial overall reaction.
It went as planned. Like maybe even, I mean, outside of Des sliding, maybe even better as planned. Like Sauce is going to have a chance to be a star, like a real star in New York.
Right.
I mean, so I think a lot of guys went into really good situations. I think, a lot of these guys are going to be looking at an opportunity to play early in their NFL careers and establish themselves early in their NFL careers and do what everybody wants to do when you get into the NFL, which is work towards that second contract, which is the important one because that's where the big money comes in. I thought it was, I don't think you could have scripted it much better outside of, the run on quarterbacks not happening until the third round. Other than that, man, it was a hell of a weekend.
It really was. The second day was kind of a little long. I felt getting to Alec Pierce. You kind of just kept on thinking, oh, this might be where Dez goes here, or this might be where Pierce goes here. But once Pierce went, it did feel like that domino just kind of kept rolling, and players were getting picked left and right. It was a really good feeling on Friday. But let's talk about Thursday. We obviously had the 4-hour long viewing of the first round that ended in a big old shebang. I tell you what, but kind of talk about Sauce
top 5 moment in Bearcat Journal history.
I think you put out there
Brady and Luke.
Yeah.
I swear it should have been like Tom Brady and Gronk, like bump bump.
Yeah.
Bump 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 bump.
Right.
Bump bump bump.
Don't get us hit again for copyrights, Chad.
No, I know. We got hit yesterday for copyright.
You got hit for what?
Ravon's I'm coming home section. Look,
no
the
way.
P. Diddy crew does not mess around. I got that notification 5 minutes after the show ended. I already had
the I'm coming home one.
Yeah.
So it was in Ravon's video, right?
Yeah.
We played Ravon's video.
Yeah.
And that I'm coming home, just little like 12 seconds or whatever it was, got us copyright striked on YouTube.
Can we not you can't even sing it?
You can't. Like, you're not going to get in trouble for that, but
you gotta be careful.
You haven't heard my pipes. I mean, kind of sound like it. But
that was. But yeah, Brady and Luke popping on Thursday night was unbelievable. Brady was going to be with us tonight, but he is at a strength and conditioning coaches convention in Oklahoma. So it actually kind of works out a little bit better. We've got a ton to talk about tonight.
Oh yeah.
So we will do that tonight, and then next week, Brady will come on.
Man, and I can't wait to hear the Vegas stories. At least probably the edited version on air. Sorry.
Right.
Hit Aaron and Chad's DMs if you want the full unedited version. They'll decide if they want to answer. But kind of just going back to Thursday.
Actually, also, I just want to say one thing real quick too.
Yeah.
If you're on YouTube and you look, you'll see right under the chat. You'll see that little $sign right there. You can now get your questions asked. Assure you get your questions asked by donating during the show, or you can join and become a super member, like a super sub of this channel. Right under the screen where it says join, you can join and become a member, a paid supporting member of this here YouTube channel. Those are new features, Brent. Wow. This is how we're going to start paying the bills.
YouTube, take it away. That's beautiful. Beautiful.
We had people donating joining left and right yesterday during the show.
That, yeah, I saw that. That was
that's now turned on. That's a full-time thing.
There you go. And I imagine with the Ravon commitment, whenever it's another big thing like that, I'm sure you guys will do the same BCJ Live type ordeal for it.
Yeah, and we're gonna throw that up just whenever like Aaron and I are bored and sitting around. Like people seem to really have responded and reacted to the live shows. So then we got a sponsor for him now. So let's keep the train rolling. But okay, now back to the draft. I'm sorry. We have business stuff to get in. I'm trying to get us paid. I'm trying to help us make a living here.
Well, speaking of getting paid and making a living, good segue there. You didn't even mean it.
Thank you.
Good segue. And so Sauce getting picked, and Chad, you mentioned this last night with Mo and Aaron. I'm sure you talked about it a little bit, but a guy like him in New York, and kind of just the way that he is. I mentioned him kind of as he's like a soft-spoken star, if you will. He's not like you get your Jalen Ramseys and the other cornerbacks of that era that kind of mouth out, and Adam Pac-Man Jones, if you will, that kind of
he's not going to say anything out of pocket. He's going to talk and be confident, but he's not going to say a bunch of dumb shit.
Right, exactly. So I watched his interview, and he's up there with Garrett Wilson and Jermaine Johnson, and he's talking with both of them, and a lot of people are directing questions at Sauce to kind of maybe tip him off a little bit, kind of gaslighting him a little bit, trying to get him to say something a little pushy, bringing up the applesauce.
New York. That's what they do.
Exactly. Bringing up the applesauce, bringing up, the fact they didn't allow any touchdowns in college, and, different things of that sort. And he, every single time, his response was, I'm confident. I'm confident in my abilities, but I'm out here to do whatever it takes for my team. Here to do whatever it takes for my team to win. I believe in this team. I think we're building something special. I'm excited to see what we can do with this team. I'm going to do whatever it takes to win. And that's the sign of someone that has that sauce, that air about him, that flair, but in the same sense, he's there for the right reason. And I think what it was kind of the humble beginnings that he had, bringing him up to this. I mean, he's always been kind of having that air of knowing that he has it inside of him, but the doubters have always been there. That article I wrote about him, I posted that video of him back in high school where it's just a little sly interview, and he's just talking. He's like, yeah, I'm going to get my D1, going to win state, going to get all state, going to get a D1 scholarship, going to go pro. He's checked off every single box. And I think that's the sign of, as you guys have mentioned, it's a star in the making, and one that's going to do it the right way.
Well, if you go back and watch the video where he watched Luke Fickell kind of congratulate him on being drafted and calling him Sauce for the first time, and he tears up. And afterwards, I think that was the same interview where he said, Luke took a chance on me. Mm-hmm. And with me being the smallest kid coming into camp, I don't know that I would have taken a chance on me. And he saw something in me. He believed in me. And, I think that just shows exactly who we kind of knew Sauce was, and gave the nation a chance to see who Sauce is, because he's not just always the glim and glam and out here making flamboyant, like, I'm going to be a Pro Bowler and I'm not going to stop until I've shut everyone down or anything. He also has I'm going to come back home like my ground, and there is a certain humility to him. And we kind of got to see that in that video as he's tearing up, and just kind of, it hit him, I think, like just how much he meant to Luke, and how much he meant to the program, and how much vice versa. Like, I don't know.
I agree.
No, I mean, that's just kind of the kid he is. And that's why his teammates loved him so much, right? Like, we talked about this the other night. Like, when the big play was made, he was always the first one over to congratulate his guys, or, like the first one to pick somebody up if something didn't go wrong. He's just a great kid. Like, you see the flash, and you see like the chains and the grill. But then you get to know him a little bit, and you realize like he's somebody you want on your team. He's one of those, I want him in my foxhole type guys, right?
Yeah.
And you can't go wrong with that. So I'm happy for him. I think it's a great fit. But you better bring it if you're in New York, because guess what? They start throwing touchdowns on you, and the fun will be gone real fast.
It will. It really will. His video with Johnson, showing him the all-purpose sauce. I mean, it's just like, that's just a sign of someone that is owning everything that's coming his way. You know what I mean?
It's still my favorite quote of the weekend. when he said, "Do you know what's in there?" He's like, "Yeah, I know it. I put the sauce in the bottle. How do you think I got somebody that puts the sauce in the bottle for me? Come on."
Right. Oh no, it's perfect, man. And he's someone that's really put it all together. And in the interview, if you haven't watched his press conference, I suggest watching it because you can just see the joy that his two new teammates had. Just every time he answered a question, they're just smiling, big smiles, and that just shows it's just genuine. Sure, there's gonna be a lot of ups and downs, especially playing for the New York Jets, but the fact that he's there, giving the confidence, it's kind of that contagious confidence that he's bringing. It's going to be awesome. He's going to be someone to watch, no doubt about it, when it comes to the NFL next year. Next, though, the second round came up. Do you guys kind of agree with me that it felt a little long until Alex's name got called? It was. The quarterback thing was what it was. And then all of a sudden you start sitting there and you are like, wow, are we going to go, all the way to Saturday with only one quarterback taken? And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, maybe Alec will go, and you see these other wide receivers going. And then finally Alec Pierce's name gets called. And I think it's a spectacular spot for him in the second round, pick number 53, the Indianapolis Colts. And they fell in love with him. He had a workout with Reggie Wayne during the pre-draft process. The Colts brought him and Desmond Ritter and Michael Young in for a private workout, and he wowed them again. Ballard fell in love with him in Indianapolis. They view him as a big-time receiver and one that, is going to have the ability and the opportunity to play right away. Just when you guys heard Alex's name called and kind of saw the videos and everything. And of course, his initial conversation with the Colts management was kind of very, very Alec Pierce-esque. He was all business, excited, but business, ready to get to work. Alec going to the Indianapolis Colts, I think it's a really good fit.
Fantastic fit.
I mean, you're the Colts guy. Like, they need wide receivers, right? Like,
yeah.
He's got a chance to be on the field immediately with Indianapolis, right?
They were a bottom 10 receiving core prior to Alec getting drafted.
Yeah, Michael Pittman's their only guy. T.Y. is kind of dwindling away.
Paris Campbell's
always hurt. It's definitely a position of need, and one that every Colt fan was like, okay, maybe we take a quarterback with the second round pick and have him groom under Matt Ryan. And then they're like, but no, we definitely want a wide receiver first and foremost. And the main thing that a lot of people have said is like, Ballard is all about the secondary. Ballard and Wright, they're all about the secondary option when it comes to a route running. You read the defense, then react, and then that's the route that you run. And they asked Alec about that in his press conference, and he said, I'm someone that has a lot of physical traits and physical abilities, but I'm also smart. I'm intelligent, and I like to go out there and play like an intelligent wide receiver. And so he said he's already got the playbook. He's breaking it down. And he said that, one of the main things he's going to try and learn is the ability to have secondary moves during the route. And then, of course, playing in the slot is another thing he was asked about a lot. And if he has the positional versatility to do that. So
he did it at UC more than people realize.
Yeah, there were some of those where he came in motion and he was right there in the slot. I think they did it a couple times against Notre Dame in particular, where he kind of would come across the middle. But yeah, I mean, I see a lot of opportunity for him there in Indy.
I just think too many people, though, are trying to pigeonhole him into the Wes Welker, Jordy Nelson.
Well, I don't think he's Wes Welker, but I do see Jordy Nelson, though. I think that's a good comp.
I think it's a terrible comp, and I think it's lazy, personally.
It's not. They're the exact same size.
They're just white. Like, that's all it is. That's all it is. I still go back to saying that he is a better comp with Mike Evans because he's long, he's rangy, goes up to get the ball at the peak of where, like, he'll jump over people. I just think that he's going to do
like
more.
6'5". He's a big body guy.
6'4".
He's like 6'3". Yeah, I'd say him and Jordy are close, and I do see some of the jump ball abilities of Mike Evans, but I think he brings more than that.
He brings more than Jordy Nelson. Jordy Nelson
not.
isn't Jordy Nelson without Aaron Rodgers.
He's solid. He was a really good wide receiver. But
Joe, you haven't missed anything. Nothing's happened. It's been very quiet. It's been very quiet.
We don't have Brady, so we're freaking out.
That's why you sponsor the Bearcat Journal, Bearcat Bounce podcast, so that you can catch up. Like you can take a couple days away, and then on Monday night you jump in here with us and we catch you back up. Good to see you, brother.
What's up, Danco Joe? Greatest name out there is Danco Joe.
Danco Joe.
It's the absolute best. But no, I think one thing that's lost in it is that yes, Alec has all these physical tools.
Joe, did you say 10% off for every Bearcat drafted?
Oh.
No.
Wow.
I'm kidding. That's not real.
No.
I'm kidding.
That is quite a deal.
I'm joking.
Available only tomorrow at Danco Transmission.
We'll have a line out the door, Joe.
It'd be awesome. But yeah, I mean, I just think Alec is he fits in great there. Someone that can play right away and someone that has the wherewithal to do what it takes to play right away. Another guy that constantly is just mentioning that, I'll do what it takes to get on the field, do what it takes to help out the team. And I think Matt Ryan will have a nice connection with him right away. I think a lot of people are kind of dismissing the fact that, they just look at just stats. Some people do. And I don't think you can do that with Alec, because the offense was completely different his, sophomore season. And yes, not reaching the plateau of 1,000 yards, but Dez isn't a quarterback that just targets one guy and, abuses that to the utmost. He's someone that just spreads it all over the place. So stats, you got to throw it out. You just got to look at numbers and production that he had in big games. I think Alec is going to be great in Indianapolis.
I agree. I still think it's a fantastic fit, even if we will never agree on his comp. But
I mean, you know what? If he's a mix of Jordy Nelson and Mike Evans, then he's going to be a Pro Bowler. So I think everyone will take that. But yeah, so then next,
Joe said yes, 90% off tomorrow.
Wow. We need all hands on deck then, right? Then next was Brian Cook. Oh no, Des. Jeez, almost skipped over Desmond Ritter. So it was Cook. Yeah,
it was Brian Cook.
Yeah, it's Brian Cook.
Yeah.
So Brian Cook gets called. Initially, guys, were we surprised? I know Chad. I think Dave was mentioning that Cook was a name that was kind of surging up some draft boards, and then I think the Kansas City Chiefs kind of saw him, fell in love with him, and decided, hey, positional versatility again. Let's go ahead and bring you in.
Well, I mean, the Honey Badger's gone.
Yeah.
So, okay. 2% for each player drafted. That's 18% off.
Oh, wow. I like
tomorrow. Let's do a week. We'll do a week. Is that okay, Joe? 18% off for a week at Danco. See, we're cutting deals on, we're making – Aaron, get that banner.
Editing.
Updated. 18% off. You mention the BBP, and you get 18% off your service at Danco for the next week. I like it, Joe. I like it.
Deal. That's a deal.
But Cook's got a great chance to go in there and be their starter right away.
Yeah.
At that safety spot, and I think it's perfect for him. I mean, they struggled in their secondary. They need a guy to come in there. And that was the thing, is they weren't very physical on their back end.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian Cook plays physical.
Yeah.
Brian Cook plays angry. So I think that's a perfect spot for him. He gets a chance to play on a winner. He gets a chance to go in, and I think I don't know that he'll be hanging out with Travis. Brian seems a little more reserved. Seems a little more locked in.
I think. Did you see Travis this past weekend?
Yeah,
he was having a good time.
Oh, Jason was the one that was amazing.
Oh well, but no, Travis was at the Gronk.
Yeah,
the Gronk party. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about Jason though doing his
Yeah.
analysis on Bleacher Report.
Oh yeah.
Like anytime that the Eagles made a pick or a trade or whatever, like
yeah,
he's so funny, like so funny. Yeah, I mean this is absolutely true. They got cooked because he helps fix why the Bengals destroyed them in the second half of those two games.
True.
To end the regular season and in the playoffs. Like they're placing a high premium on Brian Cook to come in and be an impact player on that defense. And I think it's perfect. I mean, that guy's going to be able to handle it.
Well, you lose a guy like the Honey Badger and you slot in Brian Cook, who's literally going to die on the field for you, if that's what it takes.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said this a million times. There were four weeks minimum this year where when we got to practice on Tuesday, we fully expected no Brian Cook, and we'll see how he feels on Saturday.
Right.
And there he was on the field at practice. Maybe not a full participant all week, but he was out there, and he was
sometimes
giving everything he had. Yeah,
I mean, shoulder brace.
Yeah, like arm in a sling, but he's still out there.
Yeah.
Like
this. In his press conference afterwards, I watched all of them. I eat that stuff up. But so in his press conference, there was a guy who asked. He said, we noticed you didn't really do any of the pre-draft, preparations or anything of that sort because of a shoulder injury. How close are you to coming back? And Brian kind of like shut him off early. He was like, "Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready to go tomorrow, coach." Is what he said. I was just like, "All right, here we go."
Like he doesn't like. That's a dude that like just regenerates. Like, and I talked to some of the medical staff about it, and it's like we've never seen anything like him.
Mm-hmm.
If he had something wrong, like he was there when the training room opened on Sunday, just so he could get back to practice on Tuesday, not so he could play on Saturday, but he wanted to be on the field Tuesday, getting ready for the next opponent. That's how serious he took it. He was in there all day Sunday. He's in there all day Monday. And then sure as hell, he's right out there at practice on Tuesday every week. It was unbelievable. I mean, you guys saw there were weeks that he came off the field like his arm didn't work.
Right.
His nickname should have been Wolverine, the way he regenerated, right?
Yeah.
Or Deadpool or something, like one of those guys that fixes themselves. But I don't know. I mean, it's to go from a guy who had really no offers, ended up at
zero star,
ended up at Howard University.
Howard was his only offer.
Gets plucked from Howard by this staff and turns into a second-round pick for the are the Chiefs the Super Bowl favorites right now in the AFC? They might be. I think they might be.
We'll see how the offense meshes, but I'd say yeah.
So you end up with potentially the Super Bowl favorites. Unbelievable for this guy. Like you asked him as he's transferring or even accepting the Howard invite. If you told him that this was going to happen, you're going to be a second-round pick for the Chiefs. Yeah. He said, stop, man.
Yeah, and he was a cornerback at Howard as well. So and he transitioned over to safety when he transferred to Cincinnati. Is it safe to say he's kind of only scratching the surface? I feel like he's one of those guys where he hasn't quite plateaued. He hasn't peaked. His best football is ahead of him, if you will. So
I'd agree.
I'm just really excited. I saw a lot of Chiefs, fans on Twitter kind of throwing out Eric Berry's name and different things of that sort. So, the expectations are high, and you just throw on that Georgia tape, and man, he was a menace in that game, and he carried it all throughout last year. Almost 100 tackles. That's a spurt. That's unbelievable. And one of my favorite plays of the year. People have always talked about this, but that screen pass against your guys' favorites, the Central Florida Institute of Technology, Golden Knights, screen pass out to the left side, and Brian Cook absolutely blew that up. Just a huge play out of Bryant.
My favorite was still when he tackled the guard and the running back at the same time.
Yep. I think that was UCF too, right?
I don't remember.
It was either UCF or Tulsa, one of the two. But yeah, I mean he's a guy that I think is only scratching the surface. Yep. It's awesome.
Staying with number 6. And now, like for Bengals fans, that's going to be a bit of a challenge, right? Like This is kind of the rivalry, along with I think the Bills will be right there, but like at the top of the AFC. And now you're going to have a soft spot for one of the guys at the back end of that Chiefs defense.
Yep. And on their offense. We already had a soft spot for someone on their offense, so
yeah. Trust
not
me.
fair.
I know. Trust me. I know. I had to buy a Chiefs jersey.
Not fair.
I mean, shoot, I might buy that Chiefs jersey. You know, I've been tossing it around because I told myself I was going to buy a jersey of one of the draft picks and wear it to the Indy 500 this year. Haven't decided which one I'm going to do yet, but
you have to do Pierce, right?
Pierce Colts makes sense. But no, I agree. But I'm just saying, like, I mean, I'm a Bengals fan over a Colts fan, so it's kind of just. But yeah, I'd say
go with
Pierce
Brooks
Colts.
and just walk around like,
dude. Oh my gosh, I cannot stress enough. We're gonna get to Curtis, but I can't stress enough. Watch the one-on-one with Big Kurt after he got drafted by the Colts. It's on the Colts website. It is awesome. But
Did
next,
he snarl?
Oh yeah, 100%. I'll talk about when we get to him. But anything more on Brian Cook? Man, I just think he was.
I love him. I love him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And he transferred from Howard to Cincinnati, knowing that there were two bona fide studs at safety, knowing that the cornerback room was full of strong players as well. He bided his time, he learned, and he came out and he dominated this past season. Literally dominated. But next, now we will bring him up. Desmond Ritter. Des was one of the whole quarterback situation was so strange this year because you have, of course, one taken in the first round. Then it kind of was the long drought. And I don't know which stream you guys watched, but on ESPN, on NFL Network, and on ABC, after every pick, it would come back to the quarterback talk. When's the next quarterback going? This seems like a good spot for a quarterback here. And it just never happened until the third round when there it was, the 74th overall pick, Desmond Ritter to the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons was a name that we were kind of tossing around a little bit during the pre-draft.
He put on the socks.
Yeah. How wild is that?
That was wild.
Wild. Oh, and we forgot to mention the Alec Pierce thing with his barber. Did you guys hear about that? Yeah.
I did. I saw Doyle tweet something about it, but I didn't read it.
His barber texted him or Alex buddy and was like, I want you to go to the Bengals because I want you to stay in town, but my heart is telling me, but God is telling me that you're going to be a Colt. And sure enough, later in the day, there it was, drafted as an Indianapolis Colt. But anyway, back to Des. It was a long wait, but kind of a thing that I don't necessarily like, but the chip on, Sauce's shoulder now for being taken as cornerback too. The chip on Alec Pierce's shoulder for being not one of the top, wide receivers taken. The chip on now Desmond Ritter's shoulder for, going all the way in the third round. The wait was worth it though. I think he's excited for the opportunity. And I think that Atlanta is as much of an opportunity as any of them to get in there, establish yourself, do what it takes to prove that you're worthy of the starting spot. And I mean, it's just him and Marcus Mariota. I mean, your guys' general overview reaction to Dez going to Atlanta.
I'm happy he's not a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Yeah.
For starters. Second, kind of behind Marcus Mariota, there's really not a better place for him to be. I think that's an interesting comp for Dez.
Right.
And, if Marcus has already been a backup just as recently as last season. So, I mean, if Marcus ends up being a backup to Dez, I don't think he's going to be terribly upset about it. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like a situation where Dez should be able to win that job before season's end. Mm-hmm. And if not, then you're holding the clipboard for a guy who you should be able to learn quite a bit from.
I mean, I don't know that this is like a season one thing. I think if you're Dez, you play things smart, you soak up everything you can soak up, and then you go win the job in year two. I think that's the the ideal progression for Dez here. And it's beautiful for him because he's young Marcus Mariota in a lot of ways.
Yeah, for sure.
So he's going to be able to learn from a guy that's a lot like him, that has a lot of similar traits and qualities. The offense is going to be designed to be very similar to what Dez can do, what Dez is good at.
Yep.
So I just think it's a really nice overall fit for Dez, even though it happened later than everybody wanted. What matters is, what's my path to the field? Right. What's my path to playing time? And his path to playing time in Atlanta is about as good as it would have been anywhere in the NFL.
Yep.
So I think that's all you can ask for is just, am I going to come in with a chance during my rookie contract to prove that I'm an NFL starter?
Right.
And I think Dez is going to get that. So I think it's good. I think it's a really good spot for him. They've got some good weapons. Like, if he gets on the field, Dez the guy that loves to throw to his tight end.
Yep, Kyle Pitts.
They got the best young tight end in the NFL.
They got a Alec Pierce look-alike type out of Drake London this year.
Oh, Drake London's a monster.
He's a monster. So
Drake London, Dave and I talked about this many times when talking about the wide receiver talent. I think he was the best. Like, go watch those USC games.
Yeah. Some of his catches are unreal.
They are.
And they threw to him like 20 times a game. Like, they didn't even try to hide. We are throwing. There he is. We're throwing to him. Good luck stopping it. And wherever the ball is, he's going to catch it.
Right.
And so that's going to have that dude and Kyle Pitts to work with as a young quarterback. Woo! You can't ask for a much better situation than that.
Exactly. And so Dez met with the Falcons at his pro day is what he said. And they kind of put him through a test. You know, Art Smith put him through a whole big sit down and, you know, giving him some plays and some reads, this, that, and the other. Went over some of the similar plays and reads during the past Cincinnati season. And he aced the test, to his knowledge, is what he thought, to the fact that Atlanta told him, you don't need to come visit us. We had all we needed.
Yep.
Yeah, we had all we needed from the pro day. So I think Dez had a thought in the back of his head that, you know what, Atlanta likes me, you know, and then, but the waiting game probably was stirring a little bit of confusion and whatnot. But hey, at this point, the waiting game's over and it's just time to get to work. And if there's anyone that gets to work, it's Desmond Ritter. So really excited to see what he can do.
He's going into a really good situation. So I happy for Dez because I think that's going to work out well for him.
They also have maybe the most athletic tight end in the league down there, and we all know he likes going to the tight end. So that's real talk.
I just said that.
I thought you were talking about London.
Right before that, I was talking about Pitts.
Chad, it's such a big fact that it had to be said twice. Aaron, I agree. Kyle Pitts.
That's fine.
Absolute.
I just said that.
Yeah, I'm trying to find things to throw up on here.
Absolute beast. But before Friday came to
Good point, Aaron.
No,
good point, bro.
Really
it was. It was a great point.
Still got some retention over here.
Aaron, it was such a good point. I made it 3 minutes earlier.
Aaron, I think you made a really good point, bro.
Moving on.
So before Friday came to an end, pick 100, making it 5 picks inside of the top 100. Myjai Sanders to the Arizona Cardinals. The thing for me with Myjai is that it's a guy, like, you think back 2 or 3 years ago, probably 2 years ago, if there was one name you had to pick to say this guy's going to be in the NFL, it would probably be Myjai Sanders. And it came to fruition, and forever, you know, roller coaster ride that his pre-draft process was.
Yeah.
I'm just happy for him to land on a team, and one where kind of, I think it's just, you know, Arizona's a place where you can kind of get away and just focus and just get after it. And I think Myjai Sanders is the type of guy that can feed off of a JJ Watt and feed off of all the other, you know, just veteran defensive players down there. And then also just kind of the vibe that they have going with trying to make that next step of becoming playoff contenders and taking the next step. And I think Majay's landed in a good spot. Obviously, it was a tough process, but in the end, he got picked. 3rd round, 100th pick, 5 in the top 100.
Yeah, you're a 3rd rounder. You're going to get a shot. Like 3rd rounders are expected to come in and produce. So, it's a good fit for Majay. I think it's a good situation for him on a younger team that does have, like you said, in Watt, kind of a presence in the locker room that he's going to be able to take some things from. And like I said, while those two are probably as polar opposite as it gets in terms of personality, they're both workers. They're both guys that are nonstop motor guys, nonstop energy guys. So I think it's going to be a really good spot for Majay to kind of develop and grow into his game.
And he's got good old Zaven Collins there too. The rekindle that little relationship, the AAC power duo.
JJ Watt on the other side too.
Yeah, I agree. Should be fun.
You're welcome.
Aaron, I agree. You're making a good point.
I agree. Good point, Aaron. That's a good point.
I'm done with this bit.
It was tough, Kobe not going in the 3rd, but it didn't take long on Saturday for Kobe's name to get called. Seattle Seahawks pretty much right away, pick 109. Kobe Bryant, I had his story written up. Maybe we should just throw it up still. But so Kobe, the coolest thing about him is that he again was a player that came in and was just open to positional versatility. He played safety for a while his first year on campus, and then they moved him to corner. The rest is history. If you go back and you remember that his sophomore season, he played with a club on his hand for 9 games out of the season, and that was when he had his 2 interception game at Temple. Sadly, it resulted in a loss, but still, 2 interceptions with the club on your hand is awesome. And I think he grew into one of the best leaders that have come through Cincinnati in a long time. And he's a guy that, I don't want to say he was overshadowed because he won the Thorpe Award, but Sauce gets all the talk, I feel like, and Kobe kind of goes through the motions, but dominates through the motions, if you will. I'm excited to see him land in Seattle, and I think it's going to be a really good fit for him because he's a guy that's going to work hard and do all it takes to help out his team.
What's the stat? He had the most pass breakups?
Yeah.
In college football over his career. So what do you think about when you think about Seattle outside of Marshawn Lynch?
Yeah, you think
of their secondary?
Yeah,
and how dominant Pete Carroll's secondaries have been over the years. I think it's a great spot for Kobe to go in, learn. We learned he's probably not a boundary corner, but he's a very good field corner.
Yeah.
They can play man, he can press, he can play off, he can play zone. He gives you a lot of versatility in what you want to do. He's smart. So we'll see. I think he's got a good shot there as well.
I think it's interesting how much he's played up on the Mamba mentality and just like even requesting number 8 with Seattle and just kind of just reiterating what we already knew about him and just how much he wants to work, how hard he's going to work for whoever he ended up with. And it should be interesting to see how the leader he becomes in Seattle.
I agree. I think he'll be a big leader,
sure.
Big time leader. Not shortly thereafter, Saturday was kind of it was a bit of a blur, but one where like you knew that these names were going to be called, and then once the sixth round rolled around, then you were kind of like, okay, we'll start calling these doggone names. But next was in the 5th round, Jerome Ford going to Cleveland Browns, and you hear Jerome Ford, and I immediately thought about Kareem Hunt and how I believe his contract's up after next season, and kind of just fits that.
There's
mold.
some talk he might not be there this season.
Oh, really? So right away then. Ford, man, he was talk about lightning in a bottle, man. He was this past season. It's hard to really think about another running back that was quite like him in a Cincinnati uniform. He was dominant, and he has the ability, I think, to really stick in the NFL for a decent amount of time because he just is that home run hitter and can help you out in a multitude of ways. So I think it's a good pick in there as well.
Yeah, it's just going to be interesting how fast, like, what's his path to the field given their current situation. They've got 3 guys.
Yeah,
Dearness Johnson and Kareem Hunt and Chubb. So he's gonna have to battle. He's gonna have to battle to get on the field. But we know he's got the talent. We know he's a willing special teams guy, which is going to give him a chance to make the team. So I'm excited for Rome. I just think he's got, of the 9, I think he's got the most difficult immediate situation, and maybe by camp that situation changes. Maybe one of those guys is gone, maybe 2 of those guys is gone, but he's gonna have a lot of work in front of him, but that's okay. Like he's been there before.
Yeah, I think it's fun that he's up there with Hudson, but I don't love that it's a Bengals division rival. So I feel a couple different ways about it.
Yeah, and we saw last year how quickly that depth of the running back position needed to be exhausted for the Browns, and saw it also with the Ravens and different teams of that. So I think that just kind of that depth is something they're trying to add to. But yeah, I agree, definitely the hardest one to get on the field right away. But we'll see how it shakes out as it goes throughout. Because I think that when Ford first came here, it was obviously Jared Dokes was kind of the guy, but I think Ford by the end of the season was just right there as 1A, 1B, and had that run against Georgia. So big time player. Then I think probably one of the steals of the draft, honestly, for me was Darian Beavers going to the Giants. Sure, it's tough positional fit, kind of a tweener, I guess if you say, but he just was a guy that just produced so much all throughout this past season, especially in big times, and at the tail end of last season before as well. I think he's going to be a good NFL player. I really like what Beavers brings. I think he is a ready now body, ready now athleticism. I think he's going to fit in and show everyone, hey, you guys waited to the 6th round for this? Well, let me show you something.
Well, and it's another guy who, if you asked him when he was at UConn and told him that this was going to be how his future played out, he's going to tell you, get out of here. Like, no, that's not happening.
Or how about if you ask the Darian Beavers that's in that picture from Coleraine?
The little skinny DB from Coleraine, as he became a giant human and converted over to linebacker. It should be really interesting to see the way his career plays out with the Giants.
I'm excited. And then
here's the thing with me. Can I talk on this one for a second?
Yes.
It's going to come down to how well he does in coverage, right?
Right.
And if what we saw at the Senior Bowl is an indication, he's going to be fine.
Yep.
And if you can play in coverage, you're going to play in the NFL with his size, with his tackling ability, with his intelligence, with his instincts. As long as you show teams can't pick on you in coverage, you're going to be on the field.
Yep.
And I think he's got a chance to be on the field a lot.
Yeah. And I just think he got so much better. And I think Marcus Freeman talked about it in a podcast with you, Chad, on the BCJ a couple years ago. The fact that when Darian starts just playing and not thinking, it's all going to click and you're going to see how good of a player he really is. And I think you saw that at the tail end of 2 years ago, and then all throughout this past year, he was just playing, and he was so good. He was in on the quarterback almost every time he blitzed. He was just a really, really good player. I'm excited to see as he continues to adapt his game and just goes out there and plays and uses his physicality and his athleticism and it just goes all out. So I'm excited to see. Last but not least, let's round it out with Curtis Brooks. And man, I was yes, Aaron. I was so happy to see his name get called. So I've got a buddy who does the ESPN radio show, the morning show here in Indianapolis. His name's Kevin Bowen. He's a Colt guy, this, that, and the other. And so Kevin was texting me about Alec and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, Saturday rolls around, and Kevin obviously he's getting the picks before they're announced, and he texts me and he says, "What can you tell me about Curtis Brooks?" And I said, "No way, no way." The Colts drafted Curtis Brooks. They're in the 6th round, and man, I'm excited to see what he can do because he has the ultimate chip on his shoulder. He was almost getting a little angry during the interview. Not visibly angry, but you could tell he's got a little fire inside of him. And he's like, oh, you guys are gonna see the work I'm putting in because I'm a little angry, a little frustrated with how late I fell in this draft. And man, I think he's gonna put it all together because he was so good at times this past season, almost the whole season, but at times he was just absolutely dominant.
When he was at his best was when this defense was at its best.
Yep.
Like there's no mistaking that. The games that Curtis Brooks was great, this defense was a monster.
Yep. Exactly.
I think that's easy.
Yeah. And I think Luke even mentioned it. He said that Curtis Brooks could easily be the MVP of the defense or, the most important player on the defense. And I mean, the main thing with Curtis Brooks, and this is what I told Kevin, was that, you've got a defense full of Sauce, Kobe, Brian Cook, all these players that we've already mentioned, Darian Beavers, even Joel DeBlanco, Myjai Sanders. Like, there's a lot of names to talk about until you get to Curtis Brooks. And Curtis Brooks kind of burst out into the scene this past season, kind of like Elijah Ponder the year before. And man, if his name was up there with theirs earlier, past couple of years, then who knows how high he would have gone? Because I think his production just speaks for itself.
Yeah, some of his comps, like I know his RAS was comparable to Geno Atkins.
Right.
And if he can be a fraction of Geno Atkins, he'll stick around for quite some time. I know the big knock on him is his size, but yeah, it should be interesting what the Colts are able to do with him there.
There's no doubt. Yet again, watch that one-on-one interview. It's on Colts.com. Man, it's great. He's the man. I'm excited to see. One quick thing, we're going to wrap up the draft talk, guys, but I want you guys to take a guess. Out of all the players drafted, who do you think their backup that's coming in, who do you think was rated lower than the player that got drafted? Out of all the players that got drafted this year, all 9 players, who do you think their backup that'll be starting this year, or at least it's on the depth chart right now as a starter, who was rated higher than the player that got drafted? Any guesses? Coming out of high school.
Okay.
No.
Prater, Bryant.
No. I'm saying like out of the players that were drafted. Pretty much no one. Nobody.
Yeah.
Question is confusing. pretty much what I'm saying is every single player that got drafted, their backup, the one that's supposed to be playing this season, was rated higher than them coming out of high school. Yep.
Yeah, you worded that very strange.
Yeah, because I decided I was going to throw it in as a question at the last second instead of just blurting it out as a statement.
You're gonna have to hit the $ at the bottom of the YouTube and pay for that.
Fair. But no, I mean, you look at that graphic that some of the coaching staff is tweeting out today is just awesome to see how all these players developed during their time on campus. How all of them have turned themselves into these kind of 1,000 plus, 1,500 plus in the country, and now they're one of the players that were picked in the draft. It's just the growth and the development here is awesome. And we saw, of course, today Austin Gale was able to tweet a little bit about our boy, Brady. Sadly, he couldn't be on, but he'll be on next week. Mentioned Brady Collins and how he deserves some credit for developing all these players. And there's no better way to say it other than that. So it's also hope for the future, man, because there is a lot of talent.
I mean, the thing is, Brent, that is a great stat. You just worded the question really.
Yeah.
Strangely. That's all.
I agree. I mean, actually, the highest rated one easily was Jerome Ford, and he was going to be higher than everyone, but Corey Kiner was the one that took the cake. So
Brent having this architect moment.
Sure, fair.
He doesn't know. Do you know what that is?
I think we mentioned it on a previous pod, but no.
Ed,
it was
It was on the Ed. Yes.
Ed said architect like 4 times.
Right.
So.
And then when asked about it, he's like, "What, architect?"
What are you talking about? It's architect. Yeah, we know. Why did you say architect 3 times, 4 times?
You tell me. But it's a significant difference from the players that are replacing the players that have been drafted and the ones that did get drafted just based off of high school ranking. And I mean, they're developing.
Now we get to see what the young kids are all about.
Exactly. They're developing under the same people that these NFL draft picks did. So it's these guys were special, but it's not like, it's more of a reload than a rebuild type ordeal. So it's exciting. Oh,
exciting.
Well, I mean, should we go ahead and timestamp that real quick? NFL draft talk.
Yeah, that timestamp is brought to you by Urban Artifact. They're the largest sour-only brewery in the United States. They pack over 700,000 pounds of real fruit into their lineup of fruit tarts every year. Swing by Urban Artifact's Northside Tap Room. Mention Bearcat Journal. Get $2 off a flight of 4 tasters.
Well, before we move completely on, worth mentioning that Michael Young also picked up as an undrafted free agent.
Yep.
With the Colts as well. Vinny McConnell picked up by the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's the only one that I refused
invite to minicamp.
Okay.
Didn't sign a UDF or undrafted free agent UDF ADO. Invited to minicamp.
He's the only one that I couldn't retweet anything out about because I couldn't bring myself to do it. But I will mention it here.
Joel DeBlanco.
And Joel DeBlanco, yeah, but the Saints.
Mm-hmm. And awesome. That was an undrafted free agent deal. That happened immediately. Right, that's always a good sign.
When they sign a robot, yeah.
They've got another really good rookie down there, Pete Warner. So, I mean, Joel DeBlanco is going to learn and just go, Joel. It's awesome. But quickly before we move on to basketball, we got a quick mention. There was a nice commit today.
There was.
And Chad, I want you to go ahead and pronounce the last name so that we can all pronounce it.
I believe it's Drogash. Brady Drogash.
Brady Drogash.
Yeah.
Okay. So Brady Drogash.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about Brady Drogash? From what I can see, man, he is an athlete. And if Gino Guidugli went and saw him throw and he came away saying that this guy can be a quarterback for the University of Cincinnati, then I think the athleticism is going to match the arm strength. But it seemed like this would happen pretty quick, Chad.
They've been on him for a long time. They've been on him for a long time. So here's what I want people to understand. This is kind of the quarterback window in the recruiting calendar because coaches are on the road. They're going out and evaluating kids like workouts or whatever. So generally what this means is that quarterback coaches and offensive coordinators are out watching their quarterback options throw. And that's like, this is the window that Zach Taylor was out on the road. He went and saw like 8 kids. And when he came back off the road, the kid that he had circled was Desmond Ritter. And then they went after Desmond Ritter and got him. This is kind of that window that a lot of times coaches use to decide which is my number one quarterback on the board. So Gino went up to Michigan, saw the kid throw, offered after seeing him throw, and then it took a couple days. But as Alan wrote in his story, Alan True wrote in his story, he actually committed Friday night, like right before Dez got drafted. And Coach Fick said, that was the good luck charm that kicked things into gear. He's 6'5" and runs a 4.6. He's 6'5", like 200 pounds, runs a 4.6 40. At the Elite 11 regional in Columbus, he was the number 1 rated tester.
Yep.
And at that size, to test the way that he tested, this is an athlete. Like, it's a state champion. He's a winner. He had great stats as a junior. So I think it's a perfect kid to bring in behind Luther Richardson, who is like pure pocket passer, big,
Right.
accurate arm. Like I think it's great to bring in kind of a dual threat athlete with some size, with some ability. I think it's a really good quarterback get for Gina Gaduli. Absolutely.
Well, isn't this what the staff has done though since Luke's been here, where they go every other year? They get more of a pocket presence guy, and then they get the scrambler. So it's interesting that trend continues with Drogash here. But
I don't know that he's a scrambler more than he's an athlete. Like
he hits every hole. Like I was watching the film today, and good Lord, like just every time he's in the secondary or passing the secondary.
Listen to these stats. So passing, he had 1,467 yards, 15 touchdowns. Rushing, 202 rushes, 1,781 yards, and 24 touchdowns. As a quarterback, I mean, that's just, man. You mentioned athlete, and he's 6'5". You know, he's not one of these just kind of running back, in a playing quarterback. He's 6'5". It looks like he's got some good touch on his deep ball, and I think it's also one of those where you trust Gina Gaduli's eye as well. And I don't know, man. He is an electrifying athlete, one that is just fast as well. 6'5", man. So I think it's a good signing. And of course, at Michigan, they continue pumping that state and just getting recruits out of Michigan. There's still some big names up there that the Bearcats are after, and who knows? Hopefully, things continue in the right direction out of that state. Anything else?
I mean, that's the other thing, man. That the Bearcats in Michigan continue to make hay. They continue to be an absolute factor in a state that, up until 3 years ago, wasn't a state that they had a ton of success in.
Right.
Now everybody in Michigan kind of knows Cincinnati's coming after some of the top kids in the state. And Brady Drogush is another kid that was one of the best kids in the state of Michigan, one of the best prospects. And he is coming out of his recruiting process as a Bearcat. And we will timestamp that.
Timestamp, y'all.
Urban Artifact is the largest sour-only brewery in the United States. They pack over I just did that one. Urban Artifacts, nope, not that one either. Are you curious to explore what lies beyond standard craft beer? Take a trip to Urban Artifact. They don't make beer. They make fruit tarts. Come see what the world of real fruit has to offer. Swing by Urban Artifacts Northside Tap Room. Mention Bearcat Journal. Get $2 off a flight of 4 tasters. Aaron, what do you got tonight?
I also have the Spyglass.
Okay, we're going Spyglass tonight?
I think that's back-to-back weeks. We've gotten the same.
We're going back-to-back.
Love it. Is he expected to make a move up the rankings? I have no idea. I don't know.
Who knows? I mean,
I don't know.
Shoot. He's the testing leader, though. Yep. So timestamp, y'all. Now it's time to roll on to basketball. Man,
let's go.
2 things happen, man. 2 big things happen.
Busy week in the basketball world.
2 really big things happen. Landers Nolly, man. So the Rayvon Griffith commitment on Sunday.
Yeah.
Like you keep on thinking about that, how much excitement that brings you, and how the future and the trajectory completely changes after that commitment. And then you think back that Landers Nolly committed earlier in the week, and you think back that, like, wow, this team, this upcoming season's kind of shaping up. I was so zoned in on the plot.
What's that look like? What's that like?
Yeah, can we get a picture?
Can you bounce it off the wall? Like
it's one of those translucent ones that you see.
I need
bouncy balls.
I need Geoff to take a picture or a video and tag Chad on Twitter of what these boiled eggs are like, man.
What? I mean, seriously, are they petrified now? Are they?
Wow!
Oh my goodness,
that's impressive.
I don't know yet.
You tap the top of the egg, and the shell just goes. It just disintegrates.
What if you figured out like the easiest way to boil eggs?
Comes off like a sleeve.
45 minutes. Yeah.
Right.
Well, good for you, Jeff. Good for you.
I wouldn't put that in your salad tomorrow, Geoff.
Can try it. Try it though, maybe.
Go ahead, Brent. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Oh no, that was good.
He read that they are still edible. They're cooling right now. I mean, have a dentist on call. Like have the dentist number dialed up.
Just let us know how they are. That's it.
Yeah.
Just come back with how they are. A little salt and pepper. Yummy. So anyway, Landers Nolly is the excitement for this upcoming season, I think, should be right there. But man, with the commitment by Rayvon Griffith on Sunday, it's hard not to look further in the future. But Landers Nolly is the right now, the present. He comes in, he's immediately 1A or 1B as one of the top players on the team. You guys had another live stream during the Landers Nolly, I do believe, correct? Right?
We did. Yeah. We did.
And just reaction, I guess. Now thinking back on it, obviously it's been a long time since, and a lot has happened since. But Landers turns this team into okay. They made some improvements. Let's see how they can do. To man, they look like they can contend for the top of the AAC instantly now with Nolly in the fold.
Yeah, he brings length. I mean, that's what they've talked about needing on this team since Wes got here, is that they needed to lengthen the team, and Landers Nolly does just that, while also being a guy who can score kind of at will. I mean, his freshman year was it VTech, right?
VTech, yeah.
He averaged 15 and a half. His best season, but that's because there were a lot of mouths to feed at Memphis since he got there his sophomore year. He's a guy that takes the pressure off with the trickle-down effect from literally everybody else. I mean, it's a little bit less pressure on David DeJulius, a little bit less pressure on Jeremiah Davenport, a little less pressure on Micah Adams-Woods, or whoever else happens to be on the court for that matter. Like, it's a great fit for a team that was looking for somebody who wasn't afraid to shoot the ball, they were looking for somebody who was also able to, spread the floor. And he pretty much checked every box for what this team needed in a guy as that last spot for the last scholarship they had available.
Chad, I think Landers could be a star next year. Am I putting on my rose-colored glasses and being too optimistic?
No, because he's been a star.
Right.
He averaged 15 points a game in the ACC and was
a freshman.
Right there. He was on their all freshman team in the ACC, right. And then he went to Memphis and became a first team All-American Conference player and was the MVP of the NIT. Like there are definitive things where he's already been a star player. Right. There are marks in the road. This is not a guy you're looking to take a jump. And all freshman team in the ACC, pretty good. Yeah. A step above the American. Right. And first team in the American proves he can be a star in the American.
Yep.
He kind of got screwed more than anybody.
Yeah.
By the roster situation in Memphis.
Right.
And I get he's looking to make a name for himself again. Like he's looking to reestablish who he is. And guess what? Wes Miller as a coach ain't about telling you not to shoot.
Yep. That's right.
He's going to have the ultimate green light in this offense. And Aaron's right. It's going to take the pressure off of everyone else. And it's going to give this offense the pop, the punch that it didn't have a season ago. And that was the number one mission of the offseason, right? Find that guy that can offensively give you a little pop, can make you look different on that end of the floor. Now DeJulius is freed up a little more. Now Davenport is freed up a little more. Now, Ezekpe is going to have a little more space to work in that mid-range where he likes to operate because Nolly's going to stretch the defense a little bit. It's just an absolute must that they got a kid like him, and they went out and maybe got the best version of what they needed out of the transfer portal. Yep. So it was huge.
Yeah, go ahead.
It also took patience, though, because this wasn't a guy who was available right out of the gate in the transfer portal, right? So it was a matter of everyone had to breathe.
He was in there fairly.
He was in there early. He just wasn't looking at Cincinnati early because he didn't want to play in the American.
I guess, I don't know. I mean, everybody wanted us to make a move, though, like as soon as the portal opened.
Well, yeah, that's go land somebody that doesn't do things as well as the guy you eventually got. It just shows the value of having some patience.
Yep.
And making sure you got the right guy.
And then the domino thing.
Aaron, it's on my here. I'll pull it up.
Domino thing with Nolly as well is now you look at Rob Fennessy and you see, okay, elite perimeter defender. That's a perfect complement to what Landers will have. And then you look at Kalu Ezikpe, a guy who can catch and shoot and make a mid-range jumper, a guy who can go after. Oh wow. Eat it.
I don't know that I'd eat the middle part. I just don't know if I'd eat the yolk. The whites don't look terrible, right?
Interesting.
The whites look okay. The yolks look like clay.
not your Reds expert either.
And a matter of fact, is that Play-Doh?
They look like Play-Doh. Yeah, they kind of look like Play-Doh. Like somebody put Play-Doh inside of a hard boiled egg.
All right, whatever. Just drench it in ketchup and eat it. Let us know how it is. There we go. But yeah, I mean, it's just the ripple effect. I mean, he's a really good player. I think he's going to be great here. Like you guys said, opens up more for David, opens up more for everyone, and and it also strengthens the bench too, which is just makes this team deep. And I'm fascinated to see what West does with so many different players and different qualities, because now all these role players that we were talking about last year can
be role players.
Yeah, can fit those roles and actually maximize those roles because they've got a couple stars and a couple shot creators, and I don't know, it all works out. Speaking of shot creation, Rayvon Griffith. Man, last night was special. You guys had Rayvon on for a little while to be able to chat with him and get caught up.
We're also going to get him for an extended sit down here soon.
Nice.
We were rushed. It was loud. It was noisy. We didn't really get to talk to Rayvon. There's a lot I want to talk to him about what it was like being a viral sensation as a seventh grader, and what it was like when you hit those peaks and valleys in your development, and people start to doubt you, and how do you bounce back from that? Like, I've got a lot of interesting stuff I want to talk to Rayvon about, so we're going to get him back on. And maybe if we can, I'd like to kind of do it as a live show again. So people, outside of the podcast format where we're so many other things to talk about, I'd like to sit down and get like a little bit more in detail, and that's going to happen. I just don't know exactly when.
Yeah.
But he's what this program needs.
Yeah,
I've said it a bunch over this weekend, and I said it on Mo today, or on with Tony today. The way of the NCAA is becoming wings. It's becoming a wing-oriented game. Shooting guards, small forwards, and stretch forwards.
Right.
Those guys, if you get the right group and you can mix and match, those guys are beginning to dominate the sport. And Rayvon fits right in line with the way the trend is in college basketball.
Him and Daniel Skillings, just right off the bat.
Skillings is another one, and Josh Reed and Landers Nolly.
Yeah. I mean, it's just all seamlessly. But the other part of college basketball these days, not only on the court, a lot of it is off the court, relationships, and how you're able to kind of the recruit becomes the recruiter type ordeal. And there's so many different voices that can talk to these kids these days. And, the fact that Rayvon immediately is like, I'm going to be an ambassador for the program. I'm going to be someone that goes after these guys. And Isaiah Collier is at the top of that list. That within itself is just the absolute cherry on top to what he brings on the court.
Sure. If he can go get Isaiah Collier, all right. Mick said folks are going to love Ray's coach speak. You should get that to me. I'll post it so they can love it.
Heck yeah, Mick. And by the way, Mick had Rayvon's picture as his little his banner thing on his Twitter or whatever it's called for a while, and I was just vibes are always good with that when they felt. But no, I mean it's just the fact that he has these connections with the other people in the city, and
yeah,
I live in Indianapolis, so I didn't really get the feel of what it was like in the city. But can you kind of sense it's just the way that he talked about Wes Miller and the fact that Wes was just dedicated to speaking with him and trying to push this hometown hero movement that the football team has done such a good job with. I mean, can you kind of feel that going on there? You've been on the scene a lot, so the vibes are kind of pushing towards that way. It seems like
the city's definitely hyped. There's no doubt about that. I mean, it's look. There's not a lot of top 50 talent that rolls through Cincinnati in basketball. It's not a common thing. So when it is a thing, especially with a kid like we talked about that went viral in 7th grade, like this kid's been a big deal for a long time. So when you can have a new coach come in and immediately identify Rayvon and then spend a full year building that relationship and have it culminate in a commitment, the city's going to buy in. The city's going to be very excited, and they're very excited. I mean, there were, 2,000, 2,500 people on his Instagram Live. We had a record last night for live viewers during our live show. So, it's 297.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
And we had over 1,000 people drop in, right?
Yeah, it was 1,000 people. It was, an hour show. We had 1,000 people drop in, and at one time, we had 300 people there. Yeah. People were fired up about it. People were waiting for it. And once it happened, the city has something now tangible they can plant the Wes Miller flag on that he got done.
People were so excited. They were super subbing out of nowhere and making donations.
Right.
I mean, none of it made any sense.
Well, and then CBS Sports just could not stop talking about John Robb winning the Mexico Open, man. I tell you what, that was a drag part. But aside from that, man, it's just an awesome night, awesome thing. Even the exposure on the CBS Sports and, having the ability to kind of, talk about him and his effect, getting a comparison to Josh Jackson, who, I mean, Chad, did you see Josh play back in his high school?
Oh, yeah.
He was top 5 in the country. I think he was number 1 at one point, but I mean, obviously he's got a little bit different of a,
Well, Josh was a little bit more developed at that point.
Right.
But
yeah, I mean,
I hate comparisons in general.
Yeah, right.
But 3-level scorer, advanced passing game. The one thing I'd like to see Ray rebounded a little bit more. I think if there's one area that he needs to take a step, what you want, but in high school that's tough. What you don't want to do is to get 2 over the back fouls, 2 cheap over the back fouls that take you out and don't let you do what you do.
Especially at TAC, where the teams they're playing are probably trying to coax them into that.
Sure. But he's going to need to improve in that area, but everywhere else, he has what it takes. He's already proving he can do the things that need to be done. Will there be an adjustment period? Yes. Does he still have things to work on and room to grow? Yes. Is he a finished product? No. Is he an outstanding prospect that makes this team better the day he steps on the court? Yes.
Yeah, he is.
That's what matters.
And going into the Big 12, you need that. So that's it's a monster thing. So.
Well, again, watch the Big 12.
Yeah.
There are a lot of guys that look like him.
Right.
And that was the problem when you watched UC last year that made everybody nervous. Me and Mo talked about this last night on the nightcap.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a lot of guys. When you watched the Big 12 and you watched UC play, you felt like you were kind of watching 2 different sports.
Right. True. Very true.
That's just the truth. That's the reality of the situation. Mm-hmm. With a guy like Rayvon, with a guy like Nolly, with a guy like Skillings, with a guy like Reed, hopefully with a guy like Sage as he comes in and develops.
Right.
All of a sudden, we start looking a lot more like the people you're going to be competing against, as opposed to,
dreading
the
Houston
alternative.
and Memphis
Right.
every time they come up on the schedule.
Right. And why? Because those teams had 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" guys that are going to battle and score and defend and play the type of basketball that wins at the highest level of the NCAA right now, because it's so. Yeah, he is. He's a great kid.
Yes.
Like, he understands. Got to keep working.
That. Yep.
But that's the thing. Like, that's kind of it's a great start to a point, Brent and Aaron both. When you're a Memphis, right, and you have those guys, when you go into a game, you already have an instant advantage, because a guy, for the most part, unless you're playing at the very top of the sport, the team across from you doesn't have the ability to match your length and your athleticism and your skill 2, 3, 4. Right. And you just keep coming at them and coming at them and coming at them. And what happens? Eventually, you hit one of those 18-2 runs. Yep. And a 4-point lead turns into a 20-point lead. And, the game's a lot easier that way. A lot easier that way.
When you can get these guys from high school, develop them, get them in the program, then you can go to the portal and find the mixes and matches that you need to build the roster completely.
Accoutrements.
Right.
Then you're not searching in the portal for the main dish. You're searching for the accoutrements.
Good point.
Excellent word.
Word of the podcast. Go ahead.
Accoutrement.
Oh, is that the name of the pod?
It's got a little twang to it. I like it. So I guess the next question.
I don't know how to spell it.
Okay.
Ask Google.
Siri. Hi, Siri.
Which means Aaron doesn't know how to spell it either.
It's not an English word.
Okay.
It's French.
Oui.
I did take French all throughout high school.
Do you know how to spell accoutrement?
Bonjour, mon ami. ACOURTRAMOUNTS.
Buongiorno.
Arrivederci.
Paul's on you. ACCOUTREMENTS. You were way
Paul,
off.
I was close. Jeez, man.
No, you weren't.
Anyway, so the video that was posted are now Collier and Page. Oh, what do we think?
Collier for sure, and Page is quickly moving up that list. I think with Page, you still want to see a little bit more. I guess it's all still so very new how fast he's developing, but you also want to make sure that you're recruiting him at a aggressive level right now, because if it is true, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to jump on that train. Here's what's interesting about that I have learned. They do have a desire. It's not a package deal. They just both know for each other, like, it's a good idea if they play together in college. So it's something that's at least on the table. They're not looking to play together in college, but they are aware it would be a pretty good idea if they did play together in college. So if you get Collier, getting Page becomes a little more reasonable of a proposition, because from what I've heard, Page and his crew understand that Isaiah Collier could make them a lot of money. Right? Like, you go play college with that kid, the way he sets you up already, and he starts setting you up like that on national TV on ESPN.
Yep. And
you're 6'9" and long and bouncy and all that. Like,
playing in the best conference in the country.
Like it's a good idea.
Yeah, I agree.
Also seems like a lot of fun. Like,
what,
playing with your friends,
dunks from Isaiah
passes from Isaiah Collier,
and playing with your friends is fun, right? And so if they already have this type of a relationship, like, and maybe you start messing with, like you said, Page and all of that, and now all of a sudden you're talking about McKinley potentially in the mix too. And all of a sudden you got all these dudes who are friends. Sure. But, we're talking down the line when you're talking about McKinley and Mcbride. But all of a sudden you got all these dudes who are friends who've been hanging out at these tournaments, going to watch their boy play and all of that. And they're all together. That's what you want. You want to have fun playing hoops with your friends. And I that's definitely something I feel like this team has been lacking for a long time.
Yeah, no doubt. Two things also. First off, I love the staff tweeting out the movement.
That's the new thing. That's the new tagline, the movement.
Yeah. I mean, it's just
the 2023 class. The tagline for the 2023 class is the movement.
I mean, it's the future title for a 30 for 30, right? The movement.
If it works, hell yeah.
Yeah. What if I told you? But and then the second thing, so the video came out. Great video. First off, I need you guys.
You can't play it.
No. Yeah. But I need you to rank Coach Wes Miller's Gritty.
It was solid. It wasn't tight, like it was a little loose, right? It wasn't like a Jamar Chase's Gritty is very tight.
Yeah.
Michael Young's Gritty, very tight, like the steps.
Yep.
It was a little long. The stride was a little long.
Yeah, true.
But I'd give it like I don't know, 7.5.
Oh, wow.
It was a guy in his late 30s doing the Gritty. You can't ask for much better than that.
No, I thought it was great. Especially, because you're doing it right there with Rayvon Griffith.
Right. It was definitely way better than like Adam Schefter. It was way less creepy than anything that Coach Brian Kelly has done down at LSU.
We probably need to check if his ACL is torn. Wes's like Adam Schefter.
He's good. He's good.
He's good. There we go. And then of course you saw a lot of people comment on the video and retweet it and repost it on Instagram. The likes of T. Higgins, Isaiah Collier was responding to it. McKinley was responding to it. Bronny James was reposting it. So it's a big commitment. It's a big movement. The movement for this.
It's not a movement.
Basketball program. The
movement.
The movement.
Movement.
Not the
right.
Ohio. It's the movement.
Yuck.
But yeah, I mean, obviously it's a big time for the program because obviously you get that first big commit, local commit in town, and one that already seems to be bleeding red and black and wanting to do all it takes to improve the program. And man, it's a great piece to add. And then one, it's like you got Daniel Skillings coming in next year, and Rayvon Griffith right after that. That's a lot of excitement. But yeah, so anything else as far as go ahead.
Here's what I'd say to anyone that that's like, he was going to go somewhere else, but the offer got pulled, or any dumbasses on Twitter trying to make themselves look smart. That video wasn't shot like Friday, right?
Yeah.
When he announced his top 5, this thing was very close to the finish line. And shortly thereafter, it was across the finish line. As in, right around the time he announced his commitment date. What we don't do, we don't mess with kids' announcements.
Right.
But it wasn't a secret that the Griffith family was in Fifth Third Arena shooting the commitment video when they did. Like, Fifth Third Arena is a big place. There's a lot of people that work there or are in and around the building every day. That stuff just isn't secret,
Yeah.
So if you think you know something, you don't. It's just simply say the deal, congratulate the Cincinnati staff for getting the job done. They got the job done. Relax, Reed. That's not happening.
So in a way, Rayvon's top 5 was just of a courtesy for the other schools.
It was a courtesy for the other 4 schools, right? It was just being nice to them.
Right. But no, yeah, it's awesome.
My mentions are a wild deal. The things people say in my mentions, it's a wild deal.
better yours than mine, because
Agreed.
I wouldn't like that. But yeah, I mean, obviously it was a big day for the program, big day for the school, big day for the city. So and I think it's going to be a ripple effect. It's going to be a domino effect, and I think that perfectly the staff has set this year's team up to have success, which then just even further opens up your exposure, even further shows that things are heading in the right direction. And I don't know, man. It's excitement's like right there, and I'm obviously all in. So,
would you say you're fired up?
Oh man, I'm so fired up. 2 feet in, 10 toes down, man. Wes Miller to the sky, my man. But anything else as far as basketball and recruiting goes, guys?
I don't know. I feel like it's worth mentioning that people were talking about on the boards today just how many 4-stars are currently with the program right now compared to where this program's been over the course of the last 5 years.
Right.
It's a breath of fresh air.
It is. It really is. I mean, Daniel Skillings is going to be on campus this season, and then
remember,
that's just
at this level, what Wes Miller is used to is being at North Carolina, and you know what you have at North Carolina? 4 and 5 stars.
Right.
Lots of
That's
them.
it.
Like a whole roster full of them. So, yeah.
And man, you know what? You listen to all these recruits talk, Landers talk, Rayvon talk. People love Wes Miller. It is just so obvious how much people love Wes Miller, which, I mean, man, Cincinnati is lucky to have him. And it's only a matter of time until the results on the court really start to echo how hard he works and how hard that staff works. So I'm excited for the very near future and the future past that. So, Chad, anything real quick from your time up in Fort Wayne?
I mean, I followed Rayvon around. I watched Raleigh Burgess quite a bit, the young big man from Sycamore 2024. Really skilled, can shoot it. I need to see him be a little tougher, a little more physical. He plays with Flory Badunga, so I watched him a little bit more.
Your boy.
Yeah, I mean, that one's not going to happen unless one certain specific thing happens. But yeah, it was a good event. I mean, I love going up there. It's kind of changed a little bit over the years. It used to be like it was like one of the main events for all the different shoe companies to fly into town. It's kind of become a little bit more of just a regional deal where it's Ohio, the best teams from Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, Illinois, and a little bit of like Wisconsin. There's Kayvon Looney's team was there. They're a lot of fun to watch, but I don't know that UC's recruiting any of those guys. But yeah, I mean, Tyler was there. Tyler McKinley and AJ McBride came over and watched Rayvon play on Saturday night.
Hey.
So that was pretty interesting to see. Other than that, it was a pretty standard AAU event. You realize how spoiled you get and remember what it used to be like, because it's an event that still has what in the AAU world is called pool play.
Mm-hmm.
And pool play is generally like one really good team and then 2 or 3 like what do they call them in wrestling? Jobbers.
Yeah.
So like the first day and a half, you're just watching a really good team play, a team full of 6'2" white kids from Wisconsin.
Right.
And you can't take a ton from it. But then as you get into Saturday night and Sunday, it gets a lot better. Here's the actual, there's a change that was made a couple years ago that makes that type of event not nearly as fun as it used to be. Because it used to be like you could just play as many games as, So like Saturday at Spiece, teams used to play like 4 games. Like they'd play a game in the morning, they'd play a game in the early afternoon, they'd play a game in the late afternoon, and they'd play a game at like 9 o'clock at night. You can only play 2 games now a day.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah. Like that's part of like one of the changes to why we've gone to the shoe circuits.
Right.
And they do like they have like a regular season.
Right.
And you play a game on Friday night, 2 games on Saturday, and a game on Sunday. And everybody gets 4 games in the standings, and it builds towards like the finals in July. Okay. But it used to be these tournaments, like you'd play 3 games between when the tournament started Friday night and midday Saturday, and then there would be like a 32 team tournament that started Saturday night,
right,
went into Sunday morning, and finished at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. You'd get to see these kids play 6-7 games a weekend.
Lasting out games, yeah.
Yeah. Now they play 4. You get 1 game Friday night, 2 games on Saturday, 1 game on Sunday. Okay. Hit the road. I think they might do 2 games on Sunday as well now. But yeah, it's a whole different world.
McKinley highlights are looking good as well. That's what I got to say really about him, man. Really, really good. His little drive, stop, turn, fadeaway is absolute money.
He's got the Dirk move,
yeah,
kind of in his bag.
Yeah, he looks good. So
nice.
That'll be even more recruiting coming as the offseason comes. But man, this team's starting to shape up for next year as well. A lot of excitement heading into that year. But I think it's time for a little timestamp, y'all. What do you say, Eric?
I got number 6 this time. Do you know that Urban Artifacts building, the historic St. Patrick's Church, is 150 years old? They operate their tap room in the basement, and upstairs they offer the reliquary. I think I got that right this time. We went over it last time.
The reliquary.
That's an event space. Reliquary, yeah, the reliquary. Swing by Urban Artifacts Northside Tap Room. Mention Bearcat Journal. Get $2 off a flight of 4 tasters.
Cheers, Aaron.
Cheers.
Time for that mailbag, a BBP mailbag.
So here's the deal. Man. We're switching notes on the mailbag because the mailbag has gotten entirely too long some weeks.
Did a 2-hour and 45-minute show last week.
Well, yeah. 1 full hour was the mailbag.
Yes.
No, it's not like Travion Williams. Travion Williams is like Tractor Trailer or like the Escalade from the And One mixtape. No, McKinley's game is not like that. There are videos on the internet where you can watch and form your own opinions. I don't, is Mcbride a legit target? Yeah. I mean, he's going to have to continue developing. He's not like a surefire top 50 guy, but for a system that wants to run and press, like finding a 6'6", 6'7", long, wiry athlete that can press, run, jump, and dunk, that guy's going to be definitely a target. So here's the deal. You see that little $sign button down there? If you want a question read, donate. And we will read your question, no questions asked, every time if you donate. If not, put it in the mailbag. If you have one of the best questions, then we will read the question from the mailbag. But these things have gotten cumbersome. Life has become cumbersome.
But
the mailbag has become cumbersome. Chat. So if you have a question you have to have answered, donate and we will answer every time. It's in your chat on YouTube. You just see the little $sign down there. If you're not watching on YouTube, get over to YouTube and you can find where the donate button is. And you donate. Yeah, Mcbride is a crazy athlete for sure. He did not get that from his dad. I can guarantee you that. But donate if you have to have a question asked. If not, leave it in the mailbag. And if Aaron deems it worthy, then he will put it up on the screen.
Oh, Aaron, I'm blessed. But
I'm gonna get some hate for this.
One last thing on McKinley. When you watch his highlights and he does those shots, you wouldn't expect him to then rise up and throw one down. But then you see a little bit later in the highlight, he does a drive, does a spin or something, and then goes up and slams it home.
I mean, he's not a crazy athlete, but he's a good enough athlete.
He's got it.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Into the mailbag. Chad, in your opinion, why are football decommits a more common occurrence versus basketball decommits outside of roster size?
Because in football, a commitment just tells every other coach who the main competition is.
You got to recruit me harder, coach.
Yeah. And in basketball, generally, when you commit, the coaching community backs off. In football, a commitment is just kind of a sign of now I know who I have to beat to get this kid. And in basketball, and we'll see now with NIL if it changes in basketball. But there's always kind of been a code in basketball that, like, if a kid commits.
Until the Hurricanes entered the chat.
Right. So we'll see if that changes. But as it has been, basketball operates much more on an honor code between coaches, and football is more of a free-for-all.
All right. Where would you set the over-under on number of Bearcats drafted next year?
3.5, I think, is a good number to start. I think, again, because we don't know, like, who has a breakout season. Like, if I would have told you guys Brian Cook was going to step into that safety spot and become a second-round draft pick, you'd have told me I was a lunatic this time last year. There are going to be guys that are going to emerge. The interesting part, I think, is a lot of the guys that I think that are eventually going to be NFL guys are only going to have 1 year on tape, and they're still going to have eligibility left. Yeah. So do they come back to continue to build that tape, or do they take a chance and go to the draft? That's where the COVID year throws a lot of this off, right? If we were looking at, we know specifically these are going to be all the guys that are out of eligibility, we maybe would have a better idea. But I think Briggs has got a shot. I think Van's got a shot. Wiley and Taylor, I think, are going to go for sure. Maybe I should say 4. Maybe 4.5 is a better number.
And then
I think 3.5, everybody takes the over. I think 4.5 is a little bit better, like if I'm thinking like Vegas.
Yeah. Well, because then you have then Huber, Jaheim Thomas, Deshaun Pace.
But Thomas would have to be an early enrollee, so he would have to have like
a monster season. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Hicks, Arquan Bush,
Deshaun Pace,
Nick Mardner.
Yeah.
I mean, the potential's out there for sure.
Mm-hmm. That should be interesting. I guess you also have to consider how many question marks there are at starting positions as well, because we don't necessarily know what the 1s and 2s are going to look like at the end of higher ground. So
Jake Renfro.
In terms, like, there were 5 centers taken, 6 centers taken.
Yeah.
Like, Renfro was a freshman All-American. Like, if he has another great year at center, he could be a possibility as well. I'd say 4.5.
Stay healthy.
Yeah.
All right. What offensive skill player, running back, wide receiver, tight end, do you think will lead the team in points? Which player on defense do you think will lead the defense in tackling? I think it's a great question.
That's a good one, yeah.
Or Kiner.
You're going Kiner? Wiley or Kiner for me?
Trey Tucker.
Do you think Trey Tucker gets enough red zone touches to lead the team in touchdowns?
I think that he might end up with special team points.
Yeah, but are you really, what are you counting on an additional 6 or 12 points?
Yeah, 1 touchdown, 2 touchdowns.
But he doesn't return punts, so he just does kickoffs. I think it's a risky. Not that I don't think Trey's going to have a great year, because I do. I just think, when you're in the red zone, you've got Kiner, you've got Wiley, you've got Taylor, you've got Mardner, you've got Trace or Tyler Scott.
You already took Kiner. I went off the grid.
Okay,
I like it.
We're just discussing. I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm just saying we're discussing. Who you got?
I said Wiley.
Okay.
He had 8 or something?
Yeah,
2 years ago, or last year, and then all of Alec Pierce's touchdowns are up for grabs now. So
wrap back around, Brent. Who's going to lead the defense in tackles?
Man, you want to say Deshaun Pace, but he's doing that.
But he
that
splits time with Van Fossen.
So, man, I think it might be Huber. If he can lock down that middle linebacker spot, Huber or Thomas for me, because I don't think any of the safeties are going to come in and be like that Derek Forrest, Bryant Cook right away. So I'll go Huber.
I think I agree with Huber.
Well, then I'll go Jaheim Thomas.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's
And I will also say I will not be shocked if it's Deshaun Pace even splitting time.
Right. Or even if it's like not a lineman, but if say Brian Threats owns his hard hitting coming from behind safety spot, I don't know. But yeah, Huber's a safe one.
Looking at what happened with Jordan Addison being bought by USC through NIL, is there anything being put in place to keep the best players at UC?
Yes.
Next question.
Which program will make it faster to a Final Four again, basketball or football? In your expert opinion, is PG or quarterback, point guard or quarterback, more important to their respective sport?
Quarterback.
Probably. Well, here's the argument for point guard. And I kind of tend to agree with quarterback. But a point guard has to play both sides, right? Like a point guard has to play offense and defense. They're on the court the entire game. They're not on the sidelines half of the time. Both have the ball in their hands.
Good point.
A point guard these days tends to score, might be more of a scorer than it used to be, right?
Right.
So I lean quarterback, but there's a great argument for point guard. It's kind of like the baseball argument, like a dominant starter, but the starter only goes once every 5 days.
Slugger, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I guess you could say that because obviously it's could you name both of the starters for Michigan and Georgia just right away? Probably have to think about it a little bit. So, yeah. I agree with that a little bit, yeah.
What about
Final
the first?
Four faster?
I was going to say, what about the first part of that question?
I'd say football.
I mean, right now you have to say football, right? Because the football program's up and running, but that could very easily in 2 years be a completely different answer. So right now I would say a moment in time answer, football.
Right.
I think the fact that they're going into the Big 12 changes everything because the percentages go way up being a part of a Power 5 as opposed to being in the G5. That said, correct. That said, the percentages are higher in general for football than in basketball.
Because you don't have to navigate through a 68-team tournament.
Well, 256 teams just to get there.
Right.
Or however many.
Technically, in the last 20 years, Cincinnati has been to 2 football Final Fours. If you want to kind of talk about it that way.
No, you're right.
And then
2009, they would have been a top 4 team.
Right.
They were a top 4 team at the end of the season, yeah.
And then you think all the way back to 1992. So it's definitely, I'd say football.
Very difficult to get through that tournament as one of the Final Four teams.
But you could get hot. You could have a special team and things break your way. And
hopefully
all of a sudden you're 8 seed making a run or something.
A couple of those teams being pretty special in the near future.
That'd be cool.
What's the way too early projected win total for 22-23 now that Nolly is in place and the roster looks to be set?
Let's be honest.
We have to see the
schedule.
We know Maui, the Maui Invitational.
Yeah, that's
hopefully we draw Louisville in round 1.
And Ohio State in round 2.
Without seeing a schedule, I think they're 4 wins better than last year. So 22.
Yeah. Without seeing a schedule, I'll go 24.
I like your optimism.
Oh,
no comment.
Brent just lost a lot of oxygen to his brain when you said 24. It went somewhere else.
I I think that there is a drop off
blood
in the
cells
conference.
are talking to each other, right?
I think there's a drop off in the conference, and because Houston's not going to be as good, I don't think. Memphis is not going to be as good, I don't think. And Cincinnati got significantly better.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. Yeah.
You're going 24 as well?
I'll go 25. How about that?
He's like, I blacked out. I don't remember what you said.
No, I'll go 25. Sure. I mean, I think Nolly is so good. Like, watching his highlights, it's just Bearcats didn't have that player at all.
I know this is a question that was on the board, but I didn't put it. Oh, no, I did put it. It's right here. Is there a good feeling Nolly will stay for 2 years, or is it more of a wait and see how this season goes scenario?
Wait and see. Like it.
Average 18, and you are first team all AAC.
He shoots 38% from three, averages 19 points a game,
and then
wins
you're Johnny
Conference Player of the Year.
He just got here.
Just got.
And you're Johnny Juzang, and you go.
He's not even here. He's still finishing his stuff at Memphis. He hasn't had a workout. He hasn't taken a shower in the locker room yet. Like, calm down.
Any updates on Vic? He dropped a pick and looked like a beast. Where do the coaches see his role in 22-23?
Important factor at the 5. I think he's going to play the 5. No more messing around at the 4 because of the roster construction. As long as he can get through this offseason healthy, he's going to be a significant factor on this roster at the 5.
Conditioning and health for sure.
Yeah, Aaron, you took Mr. Optimism and made him turn it up to 12.
Turn something up. All right.
6 to midnight.
Outside of the milk and cookies gifts, each of your top 5 favorite Bearcat gifts on Twitter. I don't know if we need to do top 5, but I say top 3. I think top 3.
The Wes Miller Gritty is now.
That's it.
Up there.
That's definitely top 3.
I'm always a big fan of Justin Jennifer with the Cincinnati pop
coming off.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that one. Have you ever seen the one where the Bearcat does like the slow snail across the court?
Yeah.
That was so funny live.
Yeah. Like that one is great.
Oh my God. Like
because the other
was
team
on
is on the floor. The other team was on the floor standing there.
He's going through them.
Wasn't that before tip-off, right?
No, it was during a timeout, like a TV timeout.
Coming out of a timeout.
I think he did something before tip-off one time. Man, and then the pizza debacle with him earlier.
That was the same game. The worm and the pizza debacle was the same game.
Oh, yeah.
And for me, my number 1 is Tobes.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's my number 1 for sure.
I like the Melvin Levitt, like just fists everywhere.
Yeah.
I think that's a good one. Doesn't Kenyon Martin have one where he turns around and looks at the camera?
Yeah, and then there's the helicopter from the rafters where he swings on the rim.
That's another good one.
I like all.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah. Kenyons are just. I mean, because Kenyon was awesome. So yeah, all the Kenyon ones, every Kenyon gift, throw it in there.
I like the
Hey, remember that time that you did that thing? That was awesome.
It was awesome. So awesome.
Aaron's too young. You're not too young for that. Chris Farley interviewing Paul McCartney on Saturday Night Live. He was like, hey, remember that time that you did this? And Paul McCartney would be like, yeah. And he would go, that was awesome. It was great. It was the most awkward segment, but it was so funny.
Good old Chris Farley. All right. Rapid fire from Skins. New Balance or literally any other
Fickle
shoes?
hanging from the rafters.
Yeah. Fickle.
I forgot about that one. That one is a good one. New Balance or literally any other shoes? I'm going literally any other shoes.
I had a cool pair of New Balances, but I'm going literally any other shoes.
Okay. I guess.
I'm a Skechers guy. Mainly because they have like this.
I'm waiting.
I have wide feet. No, I don't care. They have wide feet. Like my feet aren't long, but they're wide, and Skechers makes the best wide fit shoe that I've found. I've tried New Balance. I didn't like their insole on their wide fit. They didn't do much for me.
The worst rapid fire answerer ever. Rum or gin? I go rum.
Gin.
Gin is disgusting.
For
some reason, my body hates the taste of gin.
Same with me with rum.
And Jennifer Love Hewitt or Lacey Shaber, and why is the answer both? Because Party of Five.
Both.
That's why the answer is both.
Both.
I mean, have you guys seen Girl Next Door?
Yeah, that's Alicia Cuthbert.
Oh, yeah. I thought that was Lacey Shaber. Who's Lacey Shaber? Oh, no, the girl from Mean Girls.
The girl from Party of Five.
From Mean Girls, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Both.
Yeah, both.
All right. Need a Bearcat getting arrested gif. Just a comment. Thank you, Chad, for turning me on to Dixie Chili. I thought you'd enjoy that one.
Oh, Dixie Chili. Like, look, I love Skyline. I eat Skyline a lot. But Dixie Chili is the best Cincinnati chili. Facts. Big facts.
Even though you're in Kentucky.
You skipped the first half of Skin's question, by the way.
I did. It's true. Because it doesn't fit in the thing. Not my problem. Chad, was it a Central Florida Tech grad who screwed up your room situation at the AAU event?
That's funny. Yeah, it might have been. It probably was. Although I don't know how many of them migrate to Indianapolis to screw up my room situation.
Well, if they got transferred as the hotel manager, who knows?
Yeah,
right.
Who does know?
Indianapolis is a busy place.
That's the mailbag.
That's the mailbag.
What was that? Well, did you get messed up in Indy?
Yeah, it was a nightmare. I checked in and the lady was clearly like she had probably been on the job for like 4 hours. That was her experience at a hotel front desk. So she booked me in a one of the handicap accessible rooms.
Oh.
But only for one night when I paid for 2 nights. So then the second night they needed the handicap accessible room for someone that was handicapped, right?
Yeah.
So then they were like, "Well, we're gonna have to move you out of this room and into a room that doesn't have handicap." Da 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 da. And
is that when you had people coming into your room?
Yeah. So I went upstairs to my room. That's how bad this lady didn't know what she was doing. I went upstairs to my room and I checked in. And, obviously, like, you wear different clothes when you're driving than you're going to wear when you go to the gym. So I checked in and I was, like, getting ready to change. And I was in my boxers and a T-shirt. And somebody just walked into the room with a key.
Oh.
With a key. They just walked into the room. They were like, "Hey." I'm like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Well, I guess I'm not supposed to be in here." And I'm like, No, you're not. You might want to go back down to the front desk.
Were they handicapped?
Did they give you the suite then? I would have said, I want the presidential suite. I want free breakfast. I want free dinner, room service.
Were they handicapped?
Right. Like, I didn't ask for that room.
Well, I'm asking.
No, the guy behind me, no, he wasn't handicapped. Well, I was just him. Maybe he had a wife that was handicapped.
That's my whole issue is if they weren't handicapped, why did they need the handicapped room? Like, none of this makes any sense. Why are the handicapped rooms on the 3rd floor? That doesn't make any sense. If there was a fire, they're in a world of trouble.
Got a good point. What about the other guy's question, Aaron? Are we not going to do it for Skins? Because I think he would literally kill you if you skipped over his full question.
I don't condense your questions, man.
Okay. Well, all right. Heard it here first, Skin.
Also, anytime we ask questions about movies, Chad doesn't know any of the movies.
I don't know the movie. Like,
have you seen the other guys?
I don't know. I don't know them.
Oh man, it's hilarious.
And I knew that was coming. So
you guys have seen it.
Have you seen it?
It's Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell.
It's hilarious.
No, I don't watch movies.
I watched it once. And never watched it again.
A lot of movies out there, man.
Did you guys see the trailer for the Carlin documentary?
Yeah.
Oh,
no. Saw you posted it. Watched like 7 seconds of it, and I was like, "Yep, that's Chad's bag."
You're not a George Carlin guy?
I mean, if I have nothing else going on a day, maybe I'll take the time to watch it. But he was funny, but I mean, I wasn't like, I'm going to drop everything right now for George Carlin.
You should. You should. He's been gone for 14 years. He's been dead.
That's crazy that it's been that long.
Who's the actor? Oh, is it just it's a biography?
It's a documentary. on his life.
Okay. I have culture. Get out of here, Cooper.
I can't believe you, like, the things that he got into in his, like, so he's really funny early.
He was in Dogma.
Yeah, he was. The stuff he got into in terms of his content towards the end of his life, when he was really, like, digging into culture and society and government, is otherworldly good. Otherworldly good.
You're a big stand-up guy. I'm not. So
I love stand-up. Like, I love stand-up comedy. How about this before we get out of here? You'll like this one, Brent.
Ready.
Cincinnati.
Cool.
Back in on Xavier Booker. Now, that's not saying they're going to get Xavier Booker.
Right.
But back in on Xavier Booker.
Mcbride and Tom Izzo were at Cathedral High School last Thursday, so it's a crowded room, but one that you can definitely get yourself into. So,
time for one last urban artifact.
Yeah, we'll hit one more. Let's see if I got. I need some new timestamps.
Head to Urban Artifact for Aaron Smith's diaper party coming soon.
Here's an alley-oop. Urban Artifacts fruit tarts score more than the rest. Swing by their Northside tap room, mention Bearcat Journal, get $2 off. A flight of 4 tasters.
I love that face, Aaron. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Well, guys, that was good. We keep it pretty concise, pretty nice and locked in. Very good.
Aaron's mom still monitors what he watches. He's not allowed to watch George Carlin.
I'm going to be a dad in 2 months.
Yeah. You know what? You should show your kid. Well, it's a girl.
It is a girl. Some of that stuff didn't age well.
Yeah.
No, Carlin's shit aged exceptionally well.
All right. Well, I just know it's stand-up in general. But let's get out of here.
Let's get out. Well, guys, that was a good one. A lot of things happened the past week since we last talked, so tune in. Another great BBP for broadcast partners, good buddies, good pals, good friends. Aaron Smith and Chad Brendel. I am Brent Young. Yet another fantastic BBP presented by BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!